Without Ed.
That's what the kids are saying.
You cannot spell Wednesday without Ed Greer. And he's chatting with us today. Ed,
Hello.
what's going on? Welcome to SJU. Dan is here. Dan
Technically,
Murrell.
you can spell Wednesday without Ed Greer, but not without Ed.
True.
I have other facts. Spencer Gilbert.
A happy Wednesday to you all.
Happy Wednesday. Wed Greer Day. So
Wed Greer.
Netflix has revealed the most binged originals. This is via Deadline and Netflix press release. And it's a little bit surprising to some, and we'll talk about why. First, let's talk about, for original movie, the top three. They noted that over 50% of users rewatched numbers 1 and 2. The Kissing Booth.
Mm-hmm.
To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and Roxanne. So we've talked a lot recently about how Netflix is really carving out this niche in this underserved market of the rom-com, which we have seen do big numbers at the box office with Crazy Rich Asians this year, but otherwise is largely not a part of our theatrical experience anymore. So they kind of have ground to build on there, unless after the success of Crazy Rich Asians, everyone's like, let's do that more in theaters. For original shows, the top 10 list is On My Block, Making a Murderer Part 2, 13 Reasons Why Season 2, I would ask why, Last Chance U, Bodyguard, Fastest Car, and The Haunting of Hill House is number 7. I thought that'd be higher. And with an E, Season 2, Insatiable, and Orange is the New Black, Season 6. Not on the list, surprisingly, Glow, Maniac, Ozark, Daredevil, or any other Marvel property in the things that we think of as premium Netflix. Now, Dan has suspicions, I think, from your face, which I echo.
I just think that if Daredevil
very
were
convenient.
on this list,
It would not be
it
on
would
this
not be
list.
on this list, if you get my meaning.
Yeah.
Just because we can't
I
confirm
agree.
this.
I agree.
Yeah, but also because this isn't overall viewing. This is
Yeah.
binge watching.
Binging.
And I will say, as a Daredevil viewer, I have in the past. I have not seen the new Making a Murderer, but I certainly binged the hell out of the first Making a Murderer. And Daredevil is not a binge show for me. It is. It can sometimes be you need to take a break, you need to take a walk, maybe get some sleep, come back tomorrow, watch another episode or two. It's not like one like I'm gonna watch 8 Daredevils today, you know. So
I binged the first season, but this one is taking me longer.
yeah, you know, parcel it out, especially now that we know we're gonna maybe never
You want to
get
savor
any more. Yeah, exactly. You want to savor it.
To Dan's point, we want to be clear, this is based on the highest average watch time per viewing session, and this is based on U.S. data dating between, the releases were between January 1st and November 28th, 2018. So that's what we're looking at here. Any surprises for you, Spencer Gilbert?
I guess not specifically, but just in general, it makes sense that like anything that's popular with teenage girls is just ruling this list. Like
Yeah.
the top 2 movies being the teen girl centered rom-coms. It's like, who else has the time or the inclination?
Oh, I watched the crap out of both of those things.
I saw To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Delightful
was
movie.
delightful.
But I think that there's a certain
you.
point in anyone's life where, like, you know, just like I rewatched, you know, the same cassette tape of like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show on repeat over
Sure.
and over again, where you're trying to figure out the world around you. And maybe I didn't have the best guide in Captain Lou Albano's Mario, but girls have access to take one step and then again. But they're figuring things out, and they have these movies that are like teen relationship dynamics, and you just like put that in their veins.
Oh, yeah, so just...
Over the summer break, like, come on,
Straight
you got
in.
nothing else to do but debate, you know, boy A or boy B. Which haircut do you think is the cutest?
Yeah, you understand the female psyche really well. Yeah, you just got it. Like,
I'm just saying, look, I wouldn't go broke on, it's not even underestimating, just predicting that movies and TV shows centered around, like, teen girl problems, they've got a lot of time, and they like to watch things over and over again.
Counter argument
Yeah.
to you, sir, is that is an audience that actually isn't largely served in mass media at the moment.
Sure.
There, outside of the CW and places like that, there aren't a lot of television shows aimed at that audience. There aren't a lot of movies aimed at that audience currently. So this is there was a hole in the market, and Netflix came in.
Yeah, and it's weird because they're the only demographic that likes and buys music anymore.
Yeah,
So
and
how
it's
could
also
they-
like huge buying power. To
Yeah.
your point, yeah.
I'm curious what the numbers are compared to non-original shows. Like I get why Netflix releases the number for Netflix originals, because those are the shows they're invested in and want to promote. But I would love to see, like, where does On My Block compare to The Office or Friends or like the shows that are on Netflix that people
That
watch
aren't
that aren't
originals.
originals, and like what is the data in comparison to that? That's why for me it's always so tough to draw a lot of conclusions from these things, because like it's completely context free. I can't confirm it, and it's a subset of a larger, bigger number of things that you don't have any comparison for. So
I wonder, what did they pay for Friends again?
$100 million.
100 million, right? Yeah.
for 1 year, non-exclusive.
Yeah, and they paid the same amount of money for 2 seasons, the first 2 seasons of House of Cards, which is interesting and notable. I think you're right, Dan, in the sense of like this is a little bit without context because Netflix does have plenty of offerings that are not originals, and where these kind of weigh in is hard to say.
I promise you, the Great British Baking Show
Which is delightful.
is
And I
number one
watched
on this
last night.
list.
Yeah.
It is in my household.
It's
As far
your
as
heart.
bench
It
time
is.
and watch time, it is
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
I was watching the holiday
Oh,
season
yes.
just last night,
Yeah.
and it's just so calming.
It really is. It's like therapy.
Greer, are there any surprises for you on this?
I mean, I am heartened by On My Block being number one. I think that's heartening for a lot of reasons I don't need to get into. But it's cool that there's sort of an egalitarian space in streaming where it's like, okay, we'll give this a chance, we'll give that a chance. You know, I'm also down with Spencer J. Gilbert Studios. We've got a couple new female-centric products coming out. We got Pillow Fight the movie.
What do these girls want to watch? Let's give them more cute boys. Get Menudo back together.
So yeah, we're working on some scripts. You know, we're laying it down. So.
But you know what? To be fair, like I to all the boys you loved it before was a pure delight. I really
Yes,
enjoyed
good
that movie.
They're not crap.
Yeah, I
There's-
watched it one time.
Right.
Well, but see, and that what's interesting, and I'm not trying to be all like, oh, well, this is an interesting development, but it is an interesting development that boys get coming-of-age movies that come out in the theaters. Women generally don't.
Very
And
few.
so there's a nice boom. There's a nice, the genius hits the target that nobody else sees,
Yeah.
right? So that's really great about what Netflix is doing.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what I was sort of alluding to. There is a little bit of a hole in the marketplace around that. That said, I mean, I think coming of age, I love a lot of the coming of age movies that are now classic and beloved. We don't see really great coming of age movies all that often, period, anymore. I feel like the industry is so skewed, and it's getting better in the last couple of years with the
getting better.
mid-range films.
Yeah, eighth grade was.
Eighth grade's
It's
great.
the anomaly, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God, that movie's good. Are we off the
Did we
internet
just
now
lost our
because
monitor?
the monitor's
It's fine.
blank?
We'll just
Are
go
we
on
on
as
the
if we
internet?
are.
Welcome to the radio version of ScreenJunkies Universe.
All right, we're just
gonna
gonna keep
proceed
talking.
as if
We'll
we're still
proceed
on
as
the air.
if we are still on the air.
And then we'll see. Yeah, we're still going.
I would have thought that The Haunting, and this is really anecdotal to my life experience, not based
there we
on
go. We're
hello
back.
me,
Hi.
on you and you and you and you, most importantly.
I thought I disappeared from existence for a minute. I couldn't see myself on the monitor.
Yeah, if I'm not looking at myself on a monitor, what am I doing?
Let's be honest. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they would turn the lights off at any given moment. So I think we need to reassure people that we're okay. As all, you know.
Just like
Let's
one of
keep it
these
real
days,
here.
a SWAT team is just going to come down and remove the equipment from around us.
Yeah.
Just like pick up the chair from underneath
All
our
right,
bed.
Jimmy,
a little-
you get that space wall over there.
Yeah, that's a little too dramatic. I feel like there'll just be a padlock on the door and just a taped sign that says no.
No.
Do you remember the old Star Trek sketch where they're in the middle of an episode and the executives on SNL, but like OG, like original SNL with Belushi and Chevy Chase, and the executives come in and they just start taking the set away while they're doing the episode? That's kind of how I feel it could happen someday, but not today.
I think more like a boiler room where he goes in and it's all just like
It's just
phone
empty,
cables.
and there's like one lonely paper, like tumbleweed, floating around the
I mean,
office.
and Vin Diesel's nowhere to be found.
But
Yeah.
what's
well,
worse?
that's always true.
What's worse? That
Oh wait, bring him on camera,
bring
JT.
him out, bring him out, bring him out.
JT's halfway here.
Yay! You guys
Say hi,
have to
Dalton.
meet. So if you guys know, oh God, come here. Give me the dog. Give me the dog.
Okay.
You guys know that our rules are Dalton's rules. This is Dalton, and if you guys can express what Dalton's rules are while I hold this dog.
Be nice, right?
Be nice
Um,
until it's time to not be nice.
Until it's time to not be nice. Yes.
Oh my God, I love you
He
so
has a
much.
little Roadhouse name tag with Patrick Swayze.
He's a
on it.
Roadhouse
He's got a Patrick
name
Swayze
tag.
name tag, people.
Hey, JT,
You want to know
push
how
up-
you want
push
to know
it
how
on
dumb
that.
I am? I kept waiting for the camera to cut to a two-shot of Roth of the dog, and then I realized that JT was standing in
driving
front
the
of the
boat?
camera.
I know. JT is a little worried that I'm going to steal his dog. It's not unfounded. Look at this dog. To those of you listening and not watching, you're missing a really adorable dog. And this probably does not sound as much fun right now.
Yeah.
Don't be there.
I don't even know what we were talking about. I don't
Something
care.
about Haunting
It
of
was a
Hill House,
dog.
I
We could
think.
go to the second story. It's
Let's go to
fine.
the second story. Are we, Billy? Do you want to say anything about Netflix?
I lost all control.
Well, that's not new.
Okay.
Somehow fill 30 minutes, however you can.
Well,
Great.
excellent.
Most binge moment in Screen Junkies history, that dog.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again.
So Millie, the animals that have appeared on our programming include, but are not limited to, Dalton, Millie. We had one show where there were adoptable kittens and puppies, some movie fights. So we are welcoming of all animals on this program, being human animals ourselves. Doctor Strange 2 is coming, and Scott Derrickson is directing it. So this is via Variety. Director words.
Doc Derrickson.
Doc Severinsen, the
sounds like
the
Dr.
band
Strange's
leader from
sidekick.
the Tonight Show of old. Doc Severinsen will be quite a feat.
It's quite the Wednesday, guys. Director Scott Derrickson is signed up for the sequel to Doctor Strange. He obviously co-wrote the 2016 film with C. Robert Cargill, and John Spates, pardon me. Benedict Cumberbatch is expected to reprise his role.
I hope so.
Which is the funniest part. Thank
I
you.
love that.
Which is the funniest part
they
of
got
this
him.
article, because it's like, yeah, I mean, it would be much bigger news if he wasn't.
Right.
right?
Like he didn't already sign a contract
Yeah.
committing to 12 of these.
Yeah, they sign a contract in pure blood agony. Like there's a ritualistic chamber.
Yeah, they're not going to get Downey Jr. again.
No.
You know, no more mistakes.
No
Yeah.
more mistakes on that front. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, which is when Robert Downey Jr. signed on for Iron Man, nobody had any idea what that was going to be. So they didn't lock him into the 10-year for 25-cent contract.
It's like one movie at a time, and he gets like
Yeah.
a percentage of the profits.
It's crazy.
It's
yeah,
insane.
He has
Good
a deal that nobody else has with Marvel. So in any event, this is set to come out in 2021. No set date, but that year. This is a pretty long gap. It's about 5 years between the original and the sequel. But of course, we will be seeing Doctor Strange and other things.
It doesn't matter what they're called anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they should just be called like Marvel 26, Marvel
Yeah.
27. And they'd all have a different star, but it doesn't matter, really, right?
Do you think it should be like Marvel 26, Thor does stuff this time?
Yeah, Marvel 26, Hawkeye's turn. Marvel 28.
Ugh, I'm
Doctor
worried that
Strange
one's
again.
going to the streaming service.
Yeah, you're right. That's for Disney Plus. It's not like the old franchises where they
Yeah.
disappear. He's gonna be in, I assume, the next Avengers movie, and who knows.
But aside
where
from
else.
like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, they generally stay away from numerical sequel titles. I guess Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3. I'm just thinking of Thor Ragnarok.
yeah, no, they don't do
yeah.
numbered things very much.
Because that's they did some study, and it's like people will feel like they have to see the first ones to
Yeah.
walk into a sequel. But if it's Star Trek Into Darkness,
Right.
they don't feel like they need to catch up
Oh, that's
beforehand.
interesting.
Star
I
Trek
didn't
Into
know
They'll
that.
give it a chance. Yeah,
Oh,
that's why we
makes
have all these
sense.
stupid colons,
Yeah.
colon titles. from less than
Colons
years.
are so dumb.
Yeah.
Although Star Trek famously no colons, so they're like Star Trek.
No, that's why I said Star Trek
yeah,
Into Darkness.
Star Trek Beyond.
There's no colon in the title.
Star Trek Beyond.
This has been colon talk.
Yeah.
Grammar
Clean
corner.
out your colons, movie titles.
Grammar corner. My hair is crazy right now. In any event.
Now no one will notice.
Yes.
Does this please you? Are you more curious to hear about Guardians 3 news before we get into this?
No.
No.
Doesn't please you?
Guardians 3 is its own separate news story.
Are you not pleased?
It pleases me in the sense that I certainly enjoyed what Scott Derrickson did in the first Doctor Strange movie. I liked the style that he brought to what I felt was a pretty conventional origin story. And he seems like he's got a good idea. Why not? Sure.
Yes, I would happily run back this same cast and crew to see what they could do now that they've laid the pipe, set up the groundwork for more Doctor Strange adventures. I love the third act of that film, which isn't something I say often about Marvel movies. So to pick up where that left off and go full, like Steve Ditko, trippy Doctor Strange adventure would be great.
I mean, I'm openly skeptical still, though, of depending on what they do in Avengers Endgame. Which I guess we now know. I think that might have been the first time I've uttered the title on the air. Avengers Endgame is...
Didn't you guys talk about it when that was revealed?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I lose track.
Maybe.
Endgame.
But I am very, not skeptical, very curious about how long and how intensely audience interest will persist once potentially some of the bigger names are not there anymore. Like if Endgame will sort of like, if depending on how they wrap everything up, if it'll just be like, okay, that was a fun 10 years. What's next?
I think they probably feel pretty confident because they have these new heroes that were introduced. Particularly, look at the success of Black Panther, and they're like,
true.
they like this guy, so
You're
now
right.
we got one.
Yeah.
Franchise that they can keep moving forward with.
SpiderMan.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Sure.
Doctor Strange, I think by the time we get to the sequel, will just be off and like hanging out in a magical atom. Thoughts?
Well, no, Magical Adam.
Adam Warlock.
I mean, I really think that Marvel can now start to move the goalposts. Like they already won the chip. So now they can go play for the Wizards for 2 years if they want to. They can go mess around with their legacy.
Actual Wizards.
Doctor Strange is playing for the Wizards.
Boom! You see, I'm just too meta, baby. But yeah, I really feel like there won't be that much pressure to top themselves because they literally can't. You know what I mean? They came, they saw, they conquered. You know what I'm saying? They set up the Alexandrian Library or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Time to burn it
And
down.
then they all burned down.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say.
So-
The ending of that story is not
It's not
great.
so great. Yeah.
Hey, but new stuff rose in its place. We're the new Alexandria.
Yeah, the internet.
But yeah,
Good for us.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, I just think that
got
these
sad. Can we get Dalton out here again?
these things will persist. This universe will persist regardless. So I really, because I really think that they have a unique opportunity to. I mean, they've done it. They've already executed the thing I thought when I was like 17. I was like, dude, all they got to do is do these things like comic books. Just do a bunch of them, and when some dumb actor goes away, just it's a new artist drawing them. Forget it. It doesn't matter. And now we're finally going to get to see that play out. We're going to see the first iteration of like, all right, fine, now Captain America has a lazy eye, whatever. You know what I mean? or like, not that.
Who are you casting?
Hey, if he's a great enough actor.
I'm just curious if you had someone very specific in mind for the next Cap.
Or like, they might like because I saw some. He doesn't have a lazy eye, and it doesn't. If you do have one, it doesn't matter. Jeez, I'm gonna get mail. But John Krasinski almost was Captain America back in the days, and so going a more like milquetoast with muscle aspect to the next Captain America, or maybe the next Tony Stark is a little less snarky and a little more like a brilliant person. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's just different ways they can go with this, and I think it's a unique opportunity to like not do regular movie crap. They're beyond regular movie crap.
Yeah, I mean, I just think about. Sometimes I put myself, or I try to imagine what Kevin Feige thinks about things, because wouldn't I like to know what that's like? But he had probably so many of those very same conversations before he got the opportunity to even give it a shot. And it was because it was Iron Man. And it was like, fine, make Iron Man for X amount of money with this guy, this actor who's like dead to most people in Hollywood. At that time, Robert Downey Jr.'s career was in the tank. It was done.
Yeah, I mean, was this? No, it was was it post Tropic Thunder or pre Tropic Thunder?
Oh, good
It was
question.
pre, I think.
Yeah,
Right?
but he
Which one?
Iron
Man.
20,
That was like
2008.
a couple months pre-Iron.
Yeah.
So,
And
or post-Iron Man, I should say.
Yeah, and I just mean like
He was a risk.
in the town, he was a risk because of his struggles. Obviously, that has since been sorted out, which is great. But my point with that is imagine how many conversations he had like that, was able to then execute. It's so successful. I would retire. I would be so tempted to retire, and it doesn't look like he's going to do that. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take on the X-Men too. That's so stressful.
Oh, Kevin Feige.
Feige.
Because like I know why Robert Downey Jr. would retire. Like
No. I'm
why
talking
would
about.
he has to just
I'm
sit there
trying-
for 15
Yeah.
minutes and just do the face stuff.
No. I'm trying to put myself in Feige's
Got it.
position, where
Feige's
it's like
like,
he's taking on another crazy challenge.
Yeah, Feige's like Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
He's
You know
coming
what I
back.
mean? He sits
With
on
the
the
Knicks.
bench and he's like, yeah. See, that's the thing. You don't want to end up Phil Jackson on the Knicks. You want to cut it off at the Lakers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to cut it off.
You know what? That was just mean for me. Yeah. As a New Yorker.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
James Dolan is really the problem there for all the sports fans out there. But I
Band though. JD and the Straight Shot.
No, but honestly, also the one thing I wanted to say is the IP. I hate to talk like an industry guy, but the IP is key. They have thousands of characters that are not licensed by Hershey's Kisses or whatever the hell they sold it off to when they went bankrupt. You know what I'm saying? They have a bunch of IP that they have in their treasure trove that is owned by Disney that they can develop. Spend $100 million making a Moon Knight movie. I bet you it'll do good. Look at this Venom stuff. Jeez.
Netflix just gave $100 million for Friends.
You know what I mean?
Back.
So like they have the opportunity to miss. Watch them miss 3 times and us not care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the key thing about having all this IP and making all this stuff and taking risks.
That's
this next
a really
thing's
good
gonna be
question.
taking risks. Yeah.
How many times does Marvel have to miss before people...
Well, what's a miss for them, right?
Yeah.
Lose money? Like,
miss?
That's what I was talking
I-
about with the goalposts. They can move the goalposts.
I think a miss is a movie that critics don't like, that audiences don't like, and doesn't make money. I mean, so I call that. I know it's out of the box thinking, Dan.
3.
3 in a row?
I don't
3 in a
know.
row,
I
probably.
don't know. I think 2
Yeah.
in a row and they hit the panic button.
Yeah. I
These
think
are
so,
very
too.
expensive.
I mean, they honestly, I feel like Lucasfilm hit the panic button after Solo.
Yeah.
They don't even want one miss.
Well,
Yeah.
Disney's had like 3 of them this year.
Disney's had 3 misses this year, but I'm saying for a franchise like
Yeah.
Star Wars or Marvel, they hit the panic button after Solo and started readdressing that slate immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to mess up.
Star Wars, no.
It's too
They
much
paid
pressure.
Too much.
Kevin Feige, go live on an island. Like, do it for me, man. You've accomplished so much. You've got to be rich.
The hat enthusiast
You know,
like
you're a
me.
hat enthusiast. You're always nice and charming, clearly
be
brilliant.
rich.
Like, just do it. Do it for the right. Like, go live on an island, man. Like, it's not that I want to lose him because I think he's really, 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 really incredible creator. I just want you to be happy, Kevin. Maybe you're happy with the.
He's
taking
probably
on
going to
this new
step down,
challenge.
but he'll leave like a 1,000-year plan, like
Yeah.
that they have to consult like an oracle.
Well, it'll be like Ready Player One, like a giant
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
that everybody like goes like, oh, the Feige archives, and they find out what he would have thought about this situation. What would Feige do? Becomes a T-shirt.
Yeah, he should leave instructions for each phase buried in a time capsule.
Yeah.
You know that they
But
can
you
open
only-
after phase 5.
Yeah, exactly. What's next? Or like 3 years before the end of phase 5, it just appears as a hologram.
Yeah.
Like he just appears and then immediately disintegrates.
I think they should release all contractual ties to the characters every 5 years, and all the studios have to do it's a mad, 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 mad world chase to find the scripts and the blueprints for the next.
See, I was going to say they
5
put
years
all
of
the studio
movies.
heads in a jail cell and just like drop a rusty screwdriver in the middle.
Oh, you wanna Joker
Like,
'em.
First, last one out.
I would
That
love
fight-
to see that just every 5 years it's a madcap zany race around the world.
It's got to be tempting to take on the thing that now people are saying is impossible. You know,
Well,
in terms
but-
of integrating these universes.
Well, and also though, I think Ant-Man is a real example of the movies that I believe that they'll do in the future. Little less exposure, little smaller, little more personal, and they still blow up and make a bunch of money, especially relative to their budgets. I think they'll be able to, without these giant events, they'll be able to free themselves of that. However, you know, Marvel loves them some events. Comic books in general love them some events. So I'm anxious to see what the next event would be. Because I can't even think of one
Secret Wars.
a great
Yeah.
story.
Secret Wars.
There you go.
Secret
Isn't it-
Wars.
isn't
The
that
seed's
what we
been
all
planted
think?
with the
Is it a
Sprees and
combination of
Skrulls.
all the
Yeah.
Secret Wars? Like there's going to be like the old school Secret Wars and this new Secret Wars that blends the
Yeah, because
universes.
weren't there 2 Infinity Wars? So,
There's
like in the
probably a
comics,
bunch of
there's-
Infinity
haven't they
Wars.
done 'em a couple
Infinity
times?
Gauntlet,
Yeah.
Infinity War.
Yeah, they've always
Infinity
taken
Crusades.
they've cherry picked. They've taken like, ooh, I like this, but not that from the comic arcs.
Same with like Age of Ultron. There's a book called Age of Ultron, but the movie resembles absolutely nothing what happens.
Yeah, because it's like Avengers: Days of Future Past
Yeah.
is what Age of Ultron is in the comic books.
Good talk.
Yeah.
More? Do we feel complete?
So
Sure.
complete.
Yeah.
Venom.
Venom.
Writer says Spidey could join him eventually. This is via screenwriter. I feel like this is one of these amazing quotes that's like, yeah, that could happen. Like, sure.
Yeah.
So obviously Jeff Pinker was talking about Venom, and everybody's wondering if and when Venom will come up against, including Tom Hardy, from everything he says, come up against Spider-Man. And he said, without revealing anything that I'm not allowed to reveal, it is not impossible that in a future upcoming Venom movie, Spider-Man will play a significant role. I think it's fair to say that everyone involved will be very excited by a Spider-Man Venom movie. This is in an interview with Discussing Film.
It's very straightforward.
Which I admire about
I admire
it.
that. It's a very Ron Swanson title.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start a
Discussing
film
Film.
magazine. It's gonna be called Discussing Film. It's very utilitarian.
It's very
I like it.
utilitarian. It's searchable. All of those
Woodworking
things.
films. We're going to look at the panels on this library.
Best movie canoes.
That's a
Number
different
one,
magazine.
Deliverance.
It's my favorite
Oh
periodical.
God!
Yeah.
The craftsmanship.
Canoe. My God, I love Ron.
I believe it was a
Swanson.
kayak, Dan.
No, it was a canoe.
Was it a raft?
It was a canoe.
Okay, some sort of floating dirigible.
Floating.
So
Raft has no interior.
should we continue boat
Let's
talk?
get back to discussing film.
Billy.
This isn't canoe talk.
I stopped listening. I don't know what's happening.
I think
anymore.
Billy speaks for the audience when he says, I stopped listening. So he also revealed that he was looking at the comic book art for Kraven's Last Hunt as inspiration for the next film between, look, I think they have to be in, this is like, I feel bad for a screenwriter in a sense to be put in this position because of course they're gonna be like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Because they're just like, that'd be a fun story. Of course I want to write the Venom Spider-Man movie. Like, of course he wants to write that movie. Whether that works for Sony's goals, whether that works for the MCU, all of that is probably heavily being discussed right now. And this gentleman will have nothing to do with any of it. He will be told what characters he can use. Right?
Yeah.
So that's
pretty
a good
much.
story.
But he said, he's, he is like speaking from under like a what are those like little face things, like
Yeah.
a Princess Jasmine thing of like, oh, it's not impossible that without revealing too much, he's kind of like pulling the slip back just a little bit to say like, that was not a flat no.
That was not a flat no, and it was also an I don't know, but wouldn't it be great? Without revealing too much. Look, there's an art of the tease in
Yeah.
interviews, which not everybody knows how to do. This gentleman knows how to do it. What? You think I'm talking about a strip tease?
I'm not talking about anything. Just really enjoying chatting the show.
What is the art of the
saying?
tease with movies? Is that tentpole dancing?
So
Yes,
the-
tentpole
yeah.
dancing. Yes.
Yes.
So the art of the tease.
It does sound like a HBO late night show.
Yeah,
Tease.
the tease. So the art of the tease, just so you know, is something that Kevin Feige does really well, which is he makes you think he said something when he actually said nothing, and it gives it creates the kind of discussion that fans like to have. It sort of feeds that fodder. It fuels people talking about those properties, but he never really promises anything.
It's the
And
we're making a Black Widow movie strategy that's been in play
Yeah,
for a very long time.
It's because he
this
doesn't say
quote-
we are. He says, "Wouldn't that be great?" He puts it
Sure,
back on
Feige
you.
is a judo master. He's like Steven Seagal doing Aikido, where he just like moves his wrist and then a paid actor flips around.
Because when he says, "Wouldn't that be great?" and puts it back on you, you say that, and then you write about how great it would be.
I don't think this guy, Jeff Pinker, I think that this is less a Feigeism and more him saying, I know something you don't know,
Yeah, which
but
is-
I can't say.
Which is also part of the art of the tease, which
Yeah.
means that perhaps, God damn it, stop laughing at me.
Every time you say it, it just doesn't get old.
Another aspect one of the art of the tease is put it back on the questioner, ask the question back. The second part is teasing the idea that I know something you don't know without really saying that for sure. And he could have been in a general meeting about it, and maybe he does know something we don't know.
But I also think it is more about look.
The third aspect of the art of the tease.
The Venom made $1 billion jillion. The Spider-Verse movie is tracking to make $1 billion jillion. So let's have Sony and Marvel kiss and make up, and find a way to share in this, because Marvel, even though Venom is a rousing success, I think it's very clear that as far as artful delivery of these products, Disney, Marvel is slightly better than Sony so far, given track record. Even with these last 2 movies, let's go 3 before that. You know what I mean?
Well,
No,
it depends
well,
what you
Spider-Verse
say,
is
'cause-
great.
Well, yeah, and then
Well, that's
I feel
2
like
hits recently.
Homecoming, it's like Sony releases the movie, but the creative brain trust behind Marvel makes the movie. So
Right.
they clearly have a working relationship that's worked in the past, where Marvel hands over what to Sony is boatloads of money, but to them is pocket change, and then they do what they want. So I think that they could work something out with this. It's
Yeah.
not inconceivable. They've done it already.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
Yeah, I think that's what the screenwriter is trying to say and put out into the universe. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not inconceivable at all. And I mean, Sony and Marvel don't have a bad relationship as far as I know. Maybe they're fighting. Are you guys fighting?
Well, no, I think
They're frenemies.
it's going to get more contentious because, like you said, though, Sony distributed the Homecoming
yeah.
Yeah.
instead of basically being a co-producer.
Well, no,
You know
no,
what
no,
I mean?
no, 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 no. That's not true. Amy Pascal was technically a co-producer on that. Sony was co-producing that movie. Sony and Marvel. I mean, look, they really were working on it together. But that said, it's the deal between them and how they share Spider-Man. I do think might get more contentious with the success of Venom, because Sony might feel bolstered that they
Yeah.
don't so much need Marvel anymore.
I did it on my own. They could become real Tina Turners about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they'd be like you guys
By
were
the
saying,
way,
it's tracking
may we
that they could be
all.
right. Yeah.
As I understand it, the deal as it stands is that Sony, like on Homecoming, makes their money from Spider-Man Homecoming, whereas Disney retains the merchandising fees from Spider-Man. So that's where the deal comes into place. So
Yeah.
you're right. If they feel like they don't need Marvel at all, then they keep the merchandising rights for, let's call it, the Venomverse or whatever, plus whatever money the movie made. So now that they have a huge hit in Venom, they're not coming to the table as desperate as they maybe were in the Garfield days of Spider-Man.
Yeah, they were coming to the table with nothing. They
I
couldn't
figured
make
the
they could not make it work. They could not make it work, and that's why they eventually made it work with Marvel. But the MCU probably had big plans for Spider-Man in terms of how he would play out in their universe. So those relationships, and then if they have to add on like what's he doing with Venom, I think it does get a little bit complicated. I wonder how contentious the relationship now is, because all the rumors used to be that the relationship between Fox and Disney was really, really blood in the water contentious, and it was causing Marvel to change how they depicted the X-Men characters in the comics.
Yeah.
And the
As a-
Fantastic
Stop
Four.
making them.
Yeah, to basically not do that anymore. Yeah, exactly, not invest. So now that all of this is going to be pretty interesting to see how it unfolds over the next 5 years.
But I guess we've proved we have an infinite capacity for Spider-Man stuff.
Spider-Man.
Seriously, it's like bottomless. Like Spider-Verse, Venom, Japanese Spider-Man, Homecoming, Infinity War. Like there's no such thing as too many Spider-Man movies for us so far.
Well, I mean, what's interesting about that is that it's unlike a lot of so-called legacy characters, the power set of Spider-Man put across different sorts of people and interpreted different sorts of ways for different sorts of genres is just candy. You couldn't do that many Superman that interestingly. You couldn't do a lot of things that interestingly. But the difference between Spider-Gwen and her abilities and what she does with them, Silk, Spider-Woman, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, it's infinite in exploring the personality of the person with this great power. And I think that's really great. And Sony's going to make some money.
Well, with great power comes time to go play with the dog. Oh. Dan Murrell, do you have more thoughts on the Spider-Man?
None.
Zero.
I've been sitting here thinking about Toni Collette the whole show. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so upset that she is continuing to be snubbed.
Yes.
And I am launching a campaign. Hashtag an Oscar for Toni with an I, respect the spelling. And I'm taking over your Oscar campaign, Toni Collette,
Okay.
because
Let's lead the charge.
this
do
is
it.
an injustice. This is the most low stakes injustice in the world. But I will take it on. I can only do what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
I want I don't want that nomination. I want that Oscar.
Yeah.
You got to go for the gold
Start
if
that
you're going to do
campaign.
it.
Yeah.
Hashtag an Oscar for Tony.
You know what? I'm boarding that train, and we here at Screen Junkies can stump as much as we can possibly stump around Toni Collette. We've already tried a little bit.
Doing our best.
What's weird is that it was the SAG Awards that snubbed her, where you would really think that the actors would have recognized that performance, but they didn't see the movie, is my guess. Don't you think?
Because it came out less than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, now I get that some things are nominated that came out earlier this year, but only the cool, hip, trendy things that they felt like they should nominate, and not. Some of them deserved it too.
Yeah.
Just very upset.
I don't blame
Very
you.
upset, Rob.
Well, thank you for being with us, because it is very upsetting.
I love Spider-Man, but
You love
I
Toni
love
a little
Hereditary
more.
more.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
She really made that movie work. You're right about that, man.
Well, on that note, Oscar for Tony, hugs for Dalton, and thank yous to you guys for joining us today. Ed, where will the people talk to you? Where should they come find you and say the things?
Well, I'm setting up a new booth at the LA Convention Center. I'm doing a thing called the Art of the Tease. I have it's a truly original
I
idea.
believe
that I
I've
came up
copyrighted that.
You'll give
So-
vague statements about different intellectual properties you may
You'll
or may
be
not have
hearing
info
from
about.
my lawyers, because my upcoming novel, actually I guess it wouldn't be a novel, it would be a how to tease in 3 steps.
Okay, but seriously, me and Spencer are opening up a studio. The second movie is Slumber Party.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, you can check out my podcast, Nerd Goat Podcast. We're 5-star rated, and we've had Mark Bernardin on. We have a lot of people. I want to get some more Screen Junkies on. I've had Billy Biz on,
Mark.
and basically, nerdgoatpodcast.com. And just check me out at Ed Greer Destroys on Instagram and at Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter. I do great art on Instagram, and I do some words on Twitter.
Awesome. Spencer Gilbert, what's the thing that has you feeling the most feelings today?
My social media campaign, a sandwich for Tony with a Y,
Yeah.
and it's to get Tony Danza lunch, because the guy
Because hasn't he given us enough?
has given us enough.
He deserves a lunch.
It's time to give back. So hashtag a sandwich for Tony.
All
Let's
right.
get this trending.
I think that
The sad thing is, in today's world, that will be trending before mine will.
Yeah.
People would be much more interested in sending Tony Danza a sandwich than winning Toni Collette an Oscar.
Can't we do both, Dan?
We can, but people seem to only want to do one or the other.
Can't we serve all the Tonys? What are we doing for that tiger? God damn it.
I'm eating a cereal, I'll tell you that much.
Tomorrow, Spider Fights. Speaking of Spider-Man, all Spider-Man related movie fights with Coy Jandreau, Ed Greer, Markia McCarty. It's going to be awesome. This has been, I think, a time capsule show in its pure weirdness. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm going to go play with Dalton. So, bye.